Good morning, buddy. This is Victoria. Welcome back to my art channel, and today we're gonna go back to another drawing process. You're actually going to take a look and see how we drew Ichigo, or how I drew Ichigo to be exact. So basically, this is one of the newer illustrations that I've done. It's actually quite large, so this is a 11 by 14 size, or 11 by 14 inches for drawing, and you're going to kind of see how I started from the very beginning, from transferring the sketch onto the Bristol paper, and how I started filling in the first color layers and then kind of adding more layers until it became something like this. So let's get started. Okay, so what I started off first was to sketch out the sketch and then transfer it onto a clean paper, which is my Bristol paper, and I'm just kind of tracing it on this clean paper with colored pencils. So usually I like to use my color erase, and I think it's from Prismacolor, and I would transfer that using those color pencils to transfer my sketch onto the Bristol paper, and then now I'm ready to go. I can start working on the final drawing. So I started off doing mostly outlines so that I can kind of see the lines a little bit clearer, and then I jump into adding base colors, which is what you're seeing right now. So for the hair, let's talk a little bit about how I colored in the hair. So I had a base color of yellow and yellow orange, and I kind of mixed the two until I kind of filled in at least like one light layer for the very beginning, and throughout the whole hair. So that's the plan. And then once I have that, then I kind of gradually expand outwards. So I'm going to the left side, I'm going up, and then the key idea is to always add light layers. So the key idea is that, or the reason why we add light layers, is that it's a lot easier to control. So just in case if we colored in a little bit too dark, then we can always erase and go back and recolor it. And as you can see, I'm also kind of not coloring the orange where there's yellow. So I'm only picking certain spots that I want to add orange, because yellow is my lightest orange that I could probably get, because I would have a lighter layer of the yellow orange though, but any place that I want a little bit darker to create more texture. And since the hair is not flat, I want more volume, I want more shapes, and I want it to look a little bit more semi-realistic in a way. So not adding the orange all over the place is a good idea. And then once I kind of set where the placement of the shadow is, I would just actually go ahead and add more layers to make the colors a lot more vibrant. So in order to get more vibrant colors, you would have to add lots and lots of layers. And right now in this stage, we kind of have more or less probably 10 layers already, believe it or not. And the 10 layers, that number over there, it really depends on the person that's coloring it. So I might have a lighter hand where you might have a heavier hand. So if you tend to kind of put a little bit more pressure than I do, then you probably want to add less layers. So instead of 10, you probably want to add something like 8 or 5. But the key idea is that you can see how much of the colors you're adding, because you're always adding light layers. And here we're mostly kind of adding shadows and touch-ups. So for those, I used light brown, orange, which is a little bit darker than yellow orange, and then sometimes a little bit of mahogany, and also brown. And that's pretty much for the hair, and now we're actually gonna jump into and see how I actually did the eyes and the skin tone. So for the eyes, I did the outline first, as you saw at the very beginning. And what we're doing here is that we're having a base layer of yellow and also yellow orange. So it's like the same colors that I used for the hair color, and any of the darker places I would actually add dark brown, or it's just called brown, from our Crayola 24 color set. And I would also add a bit of orange as well to give a little bit more of a gradation. So it goes from yellow to yellow orange to orange, and then I'm adding more shadows with the brown, some mahogany, and also black if I need to. And then I just kind of gradually add more layers, and the drawing itself, like for example the eyes, right now I'm making it darker and darker, but the key idea is to gradually build those light layers. And then it's the same thing when you're coloring in skin tone. So I kind of had a base layer of skin tone, and I kind of refined the outline just a little bit so that I'm sure that, okay, this is what I want for the contour of the face. And skin tones, I used peach as my main base color, and then I also added light brown for shadows, brown for shadows. Sometimes I would actually add a bit of tan as well, and a little bit of pink so it doesn't look too yellow, so I wanted to balance that out. And yeah, and that's pretty much it. And then you just kind of play around just to see, okay, here I want a little bit more peach, here I want a little bit more pink, and so on and so forth. I sometimes also do add a bit of orange depending on the character for the shadow areas, so I kind of use orange or yellow orange as a lighter color to mix all the shadows all together. And then basically for this area over here, we're going to do the tattoo slash, it's not really a scar though, but it's like that, I just call it a tattoo because it's probably like the easiest way to actually explain it. But with that, since that's actually part of his skin, you want to make sure that you kind of add a skin tone under the tattoo, because that's how you're going to combine the two, or else it would look like he would have some tape on him instead of having it basically part of his skin. So that's one thing that's very important. So as you can see, I'm adding more of the peach and also having the peach seep through the black. And then once I'm pretty much set with the skin tone color and I'm happy with the results, I would actually do some touch-ups. So basically I would add more shadows, add a little bit more peach, a little bit more pink for certain areas that I find that's a little bit too pale. But at the same time, Ichigo is a little bit more on the paler side. He's not super tan, so I'm going to be really careful not to add too much, but mostly kind of making a stronger contrast where the shadows are. So I'm going to be adding more light brown, more mahogany, more orange, and just kind of mixing all that up. And that's pretty much how we do the skin tones. So now we're actually going to jump into how I did his clothing, and then also that red strap that's around his shoulder. So I mostly did the outline first because the initial sketch was slightly a bit off, so I actually had to redraw that. And now I have the new outline, and I'm going to go ahead and fill in his black kimono first. So as you can see, even though I'm using black, it's a very, very light layer, so I can kind of see where do I want it lighter, where is it going to be the highlights, and then where I'm going to actually make it so that there's going to be shadow there. So once I have that good to go, then I make it a lot darker and I just make it more vibrant, for example for that strap slash belt. And once I have that, then I can go ahead and also make other places more vibrant and also a little bit darker. So for example the kimono. The kimono, I think I probably... Did I add purple? I believe I added purple because I didn't want it to be too warm because he already has a lot of orange, a lot of red. So in order to kind of balance that out, I decided to add a mixture of black and purple. I might have probably added a little bit of brown too, just in case it was a little bit too purple, but black and purple gives a little bit more of a cooler and colder black, where adding brown would give you a warmer black. And now I'm just kind of cleaning off and kind of refining some of the edges for the last few touch-ups and making sure I fill in everything before we actually jump into how I drew his beautiful, huge blade. So this one was actually also a bit tricky though, because even though I did have the initial sketch, which is right beside my drawing, which I always keep there as reference, sometimes I would actually like to change it because since this is like the final drawing, we tend to have a different mindset, or at least I do. And I try to think, okay, do I want to keep what the sketch had, or I can actually make it better, which I did make it better. I made it look a little bit more three-dimensional, adding more surfaces, and also making sure that the reflection on the metal blade looks correct. But yeah, so once we kind of get that sketched out, we just kind of do the same thing, adding base color layer, and for the blade I majority used black and gray. And then if I wanted the black to be even darker, sometimes I would actually mix in a little bit of purple, but it's mostly just those three colors. And then you kind of see with 3 different color pencils you can actually get a lot of different gradients and tones, and it actually looks really nice even though we only have like 3 color pencils. Now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about how I decided to do the background. So basically, originally, the inspirational picture that I had of Ichigo, he always had this blue sky, which I find is a really nice balance because it's a complementary color for the orange. So it was actually perfect and made the orange pop a lot more. And they have a good balance with each other because we do have clouds in between, so it kind of acts as buffers, so it doesn't make it clash too much if the orange was right exactly next to the blue. So it actually came out really nice. It looked beautiful, it had like more texture, and it made the background a lot more interesting. And then last but not least, let's add a little bit of these highlights. So let's go ahead and grab Dr. B.H. Martin's, and it's a type of white ink that I love using on my illustrations as highlights because color pencils is a little bit tricky when you want to add highlights after when you colored on top of it, unless if you left it blank and it's still the paper surface. But the white ink is just so much easier because you kind of go on and paint on it, and it literally covers a lot of different things. So it's actually quite opaque and it's really thick, so that's why I love it so much, and it does wonders. So I'm also adding a bit of highlights on the strap as well, and also on the blade too. So not just on the face though, but anywhere that I find that needs a little bit of a more shiny and glossy texture. And there you go, Ichigo is finally completed, and I hope you guys enjoyed this drawing process, and I hope you guys learned a few new things on how I created and how I would actually layer colors and add the colors step by step in order to gradually build up the color tones, either making it more darker or making it more vibrant, so depending on what you're looking for. But yep. And I hope you guys would also get the chance to actually create something cool like this as well. So feel free to draw some of your favorite characters, favorite anime characters, or any other characters that you really love, and even your own OCs. So you can actually use these coloring techniques on your own artworks to improve and just kind of explore and kind of get a really cool result, cool effect, and all that. Okay, and that's it for today, guys. So if you like this video, please remember to subscribe. There's going to be more art videos coming out. There's going to be art tutorials, drawing processes, and hopefully I'm going to start making more exercise that we can do together, and also oil painting videos as well. And also please remember to click the like button, and also please feel free to comment below if you have any questions about what colors I used, or any other questions like, oh, how did you apply the colors, or what would you use first, and all that. So feel free to comment below. I'll be more than happy to answer those questions for you. And you can also check out my Patreon as well. There's more goodies on there too, so have fun and explore and discover new things. There's exercises, there's drawing processes, step-by-steps, and so much more. Okay, I wish you guys a wonderful week, a wonderful weekend, and take care, have fun drawing, have fun coloring, stay creative, and I will see you guys next time. Till then, thank you, bye-bye!